say so, but definitely, yeah, you know what I mean. I'm sure you know. It's human, and yet I felt disappointed after it. I thought, yeah, I could have said that better, I could have done that better. Also, but I also was still angry, because I thought, I don't know what I thought. I thought it's gonna go down easier, I thought that the argument I brought up was logical, easy to understand, and yeah, apparently that wasn't the case. And yeah, it's tough sometimes to do that, to sort of get a point across perfectly, with the other person perfectly understanding that. But then I thought, maybe that's not all bad. Maybe that's sort of also a necessary process, to sometimes have an argument and to sort of, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have to remind myself, I'm stupid as well. In that moment, I really thought that person is really stupid. It's incredible that the point I'm making isn't understood. But hey, I'm overlooking other stuff, not as much, I have to say, but also, other things. And yeah, for some reason I thought about, why do I feel so guilty about it? And I don't think that's really good to feel that about, a petty argument. It didn't escalate. I handled it well. We went each other's way when it was, when it got like exhausting, because it costs a lot of energy when you do that, when you conjure anger and bring that into a conversation. It's exhausting. It's not worth it, and yet it happens, and yeah, but I thought, I shouldn't be too harsh on myself either. That's sort of silly, because it's so human, And I think in that form, conflict is really important and should stay. You shouldn't evade it. Which I have to say, probably the opponent in this discussion did a little. But you also shouldn't overly, sort of force your opinion and drown out the other points that are made or stuff like, what I mean, like be overly aggressive. Yeah, and I felt that in a moment that there was a point where, yeah, I should back off now. I said enough. I made my point. It wasn't understood. Let's just back off. And yeah, later we sort of reconciled. I think that's still in the process. I think that's the next step. I think tomorrow or someday when it's when it feels good to talk again, safe to talk, then we're probably gonna bond again and bond even deeper than before, I think. So I think it's a natural process and it's good. And I think what do I think? I think it's often misunderstood, it's for example in bad movies, or yeah, probably also some good movies, but I never like this. I never like when they portray a very wise person as sort of emotionless and I have to say kind of indifferent about everything. I think that's the opposite of enlightenment. I don't think they get it. Like in Game of Thrones, there's this one character where I thought he was really interesting up to a certain point. Actually, I know a lot of people don't, but I thought Bran was an interesting character, and then it made him sort of into this, spoiler alert, sort of enlightened, but really boring, sort of, whatever he's sort of, yeah, indifferent, really boring, really not human anymore at all. And useless. Actually, I think I much rather have, someone that has flaws, and I think you can be enlightened and still get angry. Why not? Why doesn't anger? I don't think it's something you have to dismiss or evade, and I see people doing that in arguments a lot. Or overshadow it with, rage probably, or perhaps, if it's really bad, violence. And then that's a failed argument, a failed conflict, basically. But conflict in itself is fine. I think it's just how you go about it. So yeah, heated argument, that's fine. I think it shouldn't get nasty. I think that's the part I genuinely feel bad about. I think you can get around that, and I guess an enlightened person would, but maybe not. Maybe he would, maybe he'd also lose his temper sometimes and then apologize afterwards. That's also fine, you know. Yeah, I just don't think that's a healthy standard, to sort of say, yeah, to be a better person is to sort of cut certain emotions out of your emotion library. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think you should feel it all, but sort of just handle it better. Sort of harness all that stuff and yeah, control it instead of it controlling you. I did actually feel that in the conversation at one point, where yeah, it went a bit it could have gone too far. It just could have caused too much energy. That's also, as I said, I think it costs a lot. It's yeah, if you bring anger into the discussion, it's exhausting. It can be exhausting. So yeah, and there's a point where I could feel it, where it's like, no, there's really, okay, I'm exhausted now. The discussion opponent is exhausted. Let's turn it down. And yeah, I think that's it. But the argument itself, looking back at it, I don't know if there's a better way that I would have, I don't know how. It really happened. I had the best intentions, and it sort of, it went that way. I didn't want to, but it was sort of, really looking at each other's, I guess, personality traits. It makes a lot of sense that the argument escalated. It's just, very opposing views, and I don't know. I think a few of these arguments are healthy. I think, in relationships, you have that a lot. In any relationship, really. That's not something. I don't think it's good to think about that as something inherently bad. That's sort of, that's what bothered me. My camera does that. I have to find out why. I don't know. White balance stuff, and I don't know. Sometimes the colors look different, and I don't know. Whatever. But yeah. I think it's stupid that these characters, I think it's important to have like role models, or like a certain this sort of, yeah, this figure that is, so often shown in movies and stuff, that sort of this perfect human being that's just like in equilibrium and completely in harmony, but actually they miss life completely. They are indifferent, they're boring, they suck. I wouldn't want to be around that person. Actually, I can't think of a reason why they exist. If they're just indifferent about anything, if they don't have anything to say, really. I mean, I don't know. It's not interesting. I guess there's a place for a character like that in a movie, but I don't know. I'd still give him or her some sort of spark, some sort of edge, whatever. It's otherwise it's just, who would want to be that? I think we should rethink enlightenment, or everyone should rethink enlightenment in their own way, and what that means. And yeah, maybe you have to have arguments and to get to, I don't know, I'm overthinking it, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and we get better in time, I mean, yeah. Definitely. I mean, there were times where I couldn't have, where that argument would have escalated, and I would have gotten really, really mad, and I don't know. But yeah, we get better, and yeah, there's a difference, but there's a huge difference between conflict and violence, and I think many people conflict too. Conflict is very important for growth. I think it's in the world everywhere, and I don't mean I think it's because of the news also. When you hear conflict in the news, you think war, and that's not at all what I connect the word with. I think conflict is just two opposing forces, but that doesn't mean violence or escalation. I think all of that is failed conflict, and conflict is just sort of this, like, I don't know. I guess a battery is a good example of what I understand as conflict. In a battery there are these two. If I understand it correctly, there are these floating chemicals that sort of don't like each other, and through that, the ones that get charged, that there's friction involved and all of that stuff, and I don't know. I just found out that I don't understand batteries, but the little I understand, I think it would be a good example. But I don't know, or magnets. But I can't really explain magnets. I think I get the gist of it, and then I sort of, okay, that's how it works, and then I sometimes can't repeat it, but it's sort of, particles charged in opposing ways, and that's how magnets work. Next subject. But you get my idea, you know what I mean. That sort of conflict that doesn't blow up, that doesn't yeah, destroy stuff. It sort of creates things. The magnet pulls stuff in. The battery charges. It powers stuff. It's, that's what I understand by it. That's sort of, you can do a lot of out of that. And yeah, the other stuff, violence and stuff. That's you messed up. That's yeah, that's not conflict anymore. That's just that violence or, escalation, whatever you want to say. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you understood what I wanted to say. I did. I really got somewhere. Yeah, I feel better about that conflict today, and I will create something out of it tomorrow when when both when all of this settled, and you can get to what you actually wanted to say without all that garbage in the way. That sort of, yeah, I think that which got cleared through that heated argument. Yeah, we needed some heat to clear garbage. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what it was. Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep you updated on this. Maybe it's gonna escalate further. I don't know. I don't know so. But